listening to the Northern Hunter Podcast, home of all things hunting, fishing, and outdoors in Alaska.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is James Payne.
I'm Dalton Gray.
I'm Ryan Humphreys.
And today we got the great pleasure of sitting down with Tyler Grethen from Weatherby Rifles. And thank you so much for joining us today, taking time out of your evening.
Yeah, happy to be here, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. You guys having a pretty good spring down there so far? Is that you guys getting chasing bears around yet?
Oh, I haven't started chasing bears. I got a few trips planned. We had a pretty light winter here, but as I was telling you guys kind of before the show, it definitely got a little skip of snow today, this afternoon, just doing Wyoming things. But yeah, it's starting to green up here, and our Wyoming bear season, a lot of the rifle seasons will open up in about 2 weeks. So
nice,
Yeah.
very nice. That's
Very
exciting times.
Yeah.
Yeah, our spring up here has been rather I don't know what you'd call it, bipolar.
Yeah.
It's been
Definitely.
we started off with it would jump up into the 50s and then 60-degree days, then it would dump snow on us, then it'd be 60 again, and then it would dump more snow. And even this morning, the day of this recording, we had a snow. It was like a blizzard in some places around town, and then 55, 60 degrees again in the evening time when I walked in this evening. So
Yeah.
but
It's about time.
Yeah, but it's slowly crawling up there. So we should be able to be out there chasing them around here soon.
Yeah. The bear baits are out. Spring is close.
Yep.
It is close.
Exactly. Well, I'm excited for this
are
conversation.
you guys based?
Go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, are you guys based out of Anchorage or like?
No,
where are you guys from?
Alaska. Sorry. we live in Fairbanks.
Nice. Fairbanks. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Right about in the middle of the state.
Yeah. No.
I
So
was
yeah.
gonna say Anchorage is almost as big as Wyoming is total population. So
Yeah. No. It's crazy, and it's growing every year. My job, we have we have several facets all over the state, but the Anchorage one, we go down there a lot for training, and man, oh man, there's a lot of traffic down there.
The traffic isn't even what bothers me the most. It's just the fact that there's too many people.
Yeah.
It's just, even just walking around a store, like heaven forbid, even Cabela's. If I walk into Cabela's and I see a person on every aisle, I just about want to leave.
Yeah.
And just go over to Barney's, just go to a smaller store, fewer people. But yeah, it's too many people in Anchorage. So we call Fairbanks home for now. But
Yeah.
a lot colder in the winter, a lot hotter in the summer. And
That's true. There's like it's a weird layer of extremes, I guess, the further north you go. And there's a cutoff. I would say like the Brooks Range is probably the cutoff where it's just too far north and you're not going to get that gain. But there's like a section all the way up to there where you do get way colder winters, but you also get way warmer summers. I mean, Fort Yukon holds the record for the hottest day in Alaska.
Yeah.
And they're way north of us.
Yeah.
So, but they also get, the negative 70s in the winter and stuff like that. So a lot colder too.
Yeah.
It's just
the bipolar north.
yeah. Yep. You got to have both extremes. An extreme state for extreme people.
Yeah. That's right.
But no, Tyler, I'm really excited to have you on today. I'm excited for this conversation, seeing where it goes, talking about Weatherby Rifles and all the cool things you guys have been doing recently, especially in the last 5 years. A little bit of a cool little tidbit is actually the very first time, well, it wasn't the first time I'd met Mo, but it was the first time I'd met you. Talk to you. Yeah, not just passed you by somewhere. Was Dalton and I were chatting around a bonfire about Weatherby Mark Vs and the ones we wanted to buy. And we were going over, which model we want. Do you want the light? Do you want this? Do you want that? And AccuMark and which caliber you want, which cartridge, and going back and forth on these options. And this is while you were still building your house, Mo. And I remember it was like, man, if I could stop buying 2x4s, I'd buy one of those too.
Right, something like that. Yeah.
2x4s and plywood and all this stuff.
Fun fact: house still isn't done, and I have more guns. So
there you go. But so it's kind of funny. Like the first conversation I can remember it being all three of us was actually about Weatherby Rifles, and so then
we were all so young.
Oh yeah, young and broke. But here we are, and now Dalton and I both shoot Mark Vs, and
Yeah.
we're enjoying the heck out of them. So
yeah.
but a lot of what you guys have been doing is just revolutionary these days. I mean, especially for the traditional Weatherby rifle system. So, and a lot of that I would say came after what you guys have moved from California. Why don't you go into a little bit of that and kind of the motivation behind that and what moving to Wyoming did for you guys?
Yeah, about 5 years ago, actually probably 6 or 7 years ago, Adam Weatherby really wanted to potentially move the business. We just kind of knew that California wasn't maybe a forever home. It had a great history, kind of where the roots of Weatherby started, but it didn't really feel like the future of Weatherby, just with legislation, just the craziness that's going on in that state. And you look, today it seems like it was a no-brainer. But yeah, so Adam and Brenda which is his wife, we were really trying to find a new home, and there were several different states kind of on the list of where they could potentially go. And I always like the story, and Adam and Brenda and the family came out to Wyoming for an antelope hunt, like a family antelope hunt. And they're like, oh, let's just drive up through Sheridan. And they kind of like on that trip decided that was going to be kind of like felt like home. And, things, there's a lot more to it than that, but then the state of Wyoming really like wanted Weatherby as well. So essentially I think it was one of the governors at the time pretty much told Adam, he's like, you guys are moving to Wyoming. And then 2 years later, everything went into effect, and now here we are. So and since we've moved to Wyoming, we've been able to really invest. It's kind of a fun, we like to say that we're a 79, 80-year-old startup, because it feels like a lot of things has changed. So we have all this rich history, but with a brand new building, all new equipment, we've really vertically integrated a ton of stuff, like Mark Vs in California. We're being made in California, but there's a lot more processes that we're able to come in-house. So since we've moved to Wyoming, it's allowed Weatherby to just grow in sales, grow in product lines. We have twice as many employees in Wyoming than we did in California. So it's just been great to Wyoming. It kind of gave that fresh start. Several people from the California team did move out with Weatherby, but being Sheridan, being kind of a hub, being a little less populated, a lot of the teams that we brought in and people we brought in were like people who wanted to be in Wyoming, wanted to hunt, wanted to be DIY, wanted to live that kind of Weatherby lifestyle. So
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it. I moved from Missouri. Probably 85% of it was for Weatherby, and the other 15% was because of Sheridan. So
there you go.
Yeah, and it's pretty special to be a part of a third generation family-owned business. Adam and Brenda both come to work every single day. Adam's very hands-on. He's part of the marketing team at the end of the day. And then Brenda is she's VP of people or VP of culture in HR. So she's there just as much as anyone else. So it's pretty fun.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys setting up in small town America, basically, and being able to really kind of represent that. And I'm sure the people there were very grateful for the new job opportunities and all of that as well, and the representation too.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the town of Sheridan was pretty pumped. I've only been there for the last 2 years, but I know when Weatherby came, it was kind of a big deal. There's also it's really fun to kind of see some of the local guys who have like made their way up, and like one that comes to mind, shout out to my buddy Coulter, who's on the sales team, but he pretty much always says his dream job moved to his hometown. So I always like that. And he's on the sales team. So
perfect.
That's
it's
awesome.
Beautiful when that happens. Yeah, we had a listener write into the show actually this week on our Instagram with a picture saying he was down there hunting or planning on hunting bears down there in Sheridan, and he was he sent a little selfie in front of there, said you guys have an absolutely stunning showroom set up down there.
Yeah, the showroom is fun. There if you're ever in Sheridan, we are open Monday through Friday, I think 9 to 4, 9 to 5 or something like that. And we have a showroom where we have like packs in there. We've got like exclusive apparel. We carry a couple of different like exclusive stuff that you can't get on the website or anything. You got to come into the showroom. And then we just have a ton of history. We've got some of Roy Weatherby's old taxidermy in there. We've got like John Wayne's Mark V that he used to shoot.
Oh,
So
man.
there's like a 6.5 300 I think came out in 2015, but we have 6.5 300 prototypes from like the 60s. It was a cartridge that they had been, something that Roy was working on, and then bookshelves kind of thing. So there's a lot of cool history in there.
That's amazing.
I remember seeing that picture of Roy Weatherby and John Wayne holding that Mark V in the black and white picture years and years ago as a little kid, and thinking, man, that would be so cool one day to have a Mark V just like John Wayne did. Because I grew up loving, obviously the Duke and the Westerns and Hondo and all the classic John Wayne Westerns, and the man from True Grit chose to shoot a Weatherby. And so I always just idolized Weatherby as a young kid. So that is a rich history. And it's such a good American success story,
Oh, yeah.
Roy didn't have it easy starting out, and it was not without a lot of trouble that he started that company over the years. But to see where it is now, and like you were saying, Tyler, 3 generations into the Weatherby family, and now to see it flourishing as it is that's a pretty special story.
Yeah. And especially, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you were making the comment on Roy and John Wayne, he was really ahead of his time too. Like, man, I feel like being on the marketing team, I got a lot of big shoes to fill, because it feels like Roy was one of the first marketers in the outdoor industry.
Yeah.
Because he's in California, he's got all these celebrities. If you're anyone, you're shooting a Weatherby, right? And
right.
Back in those days, Weatherby was a dang pretty penny. If you're going to shoot a Mark V, shoot a custom one of these hot rod rounds. So it's pretty cool to be on the marketing team of, like, honestly, when you really stop and think about it, a company that was built on great products and marketing. So
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, and what I was going to say is, it's not only great to see a multi-generational firearms company in America, but it's, a multi-generational passion for a company in America, because this isn't like a trust fund baby kind of just riding it out and soaking the money out of it. It's like, like you had pointed out with Adam, always looking for the next step, the next move, the next advancement, the next development, and things like that. I mean, that is a product of passion right there. And that's an amazing thing to watch. And I mean, even all over the social media, I mean, the guy's everywhere, like, believing in his product, advancing his product. That's such a cool thing to see and just witness. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to keep up with him on the mountain too. He definitely cannot sit still. He's always go, glass. So there's been some fun moments already on the mountain, and hunting. So
yeah.
Speaking of glass, and I see that in the background there, sitting behind you on your little packing shelf, is a Stealthy Hunter glassing pad.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. It's from our
I've got nope, it's in my office. I was going to say I have the rifle thing as well, the scope cover.
Yeah. We are big fans of Stealthy
that's kind
Hunter.
of how we got. Yeah, that's kind of how you and me, Dalton, got hooked up, was through Ryan.
Yeah.
I've worked with Ryan on a bunch of different projects for quite a few years. He's a darn good guy. So
yeah. He was our first supporter of the show, and he was the one that encouraged me to reach out to you guys. He said, if you guys are interested, you should talk to Weatherby. So yeah, he's been instrumental in a number of our opportunities that we've had to work with, a few different companies. So
yeah,
big shout out to Ryan.
And along those lines, I mean, in addition to, just how much, we've all loved the Weatherby lineup of rifles from even before a lot of these new developments and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then the connections and whatnot. I just wanted to personally say thank you for, supporting the show and partnering with our show as well, and believing in what we're doing too. It's been a great partnership so far, and I look forward to it continuing for a long time.
Yeah, no, I love the partnership part of that. At the end of the day, we are still a small business, and we don't like to do the whole, oh, you have a marketing budget and all these things, right? And we truly do partnership stuff. Like, we'll get into it maybe later, but most of all of our partners, we go on hunts with them. We do like in the field things. We truly want it to be mutually beneficial. So if you guys are doing something, we'll support you, things like that. So, especially on the Weatherby team, again, Adam and just it being such a small family business, we take that stuff pretty serious. And if it's at the end of the day, if especially like, so Adam can't be involved on every single thing, but it's one of those things where if I couldn't hunt with this guy, with Adam, then it's just, he's not a Weatherby guy. Right. So just trying to find people who have the same core values and all those things actually, like, to us is not always about like numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. And keeping that relationship more authentic. But I think we see a lot more of that nowadays, and people kind of coming back around to that authenticity side of what was called a sponsorship for so long. And people, I think that word almost got dulled down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like everybody that was, I guess we'll just call them influencers, whether it was on a YouTube channel or a podcast or a hunting show that was even on mainstream television, Outdoor Channel or Sportsman's Network, things like that. And it just seemed like the term sponsorship almost kind of lost some of its weight. But I've noticed that there are a lot more family and friends oriented businesses. All of us here are all good friends, and the team at Weatherby, that seems like a tight knit group of folks. And having having two companies like that work together just seems to me like more of the way that the industry is now headed back to, and that gives companies overall, I think, a more authentic feel, and I think that's a lot more valuable for people because they know you're not just partnering up with somebody for just the face value of it,
the clout. Yeah. Well, and I was listening to an interesting podcast about that actually during my continued education and different routes that we're going to be entering into the outdoors world. And they were talking about that actually, that specifically, where it was, it used to be partnerships were a very one-on-one, relationship style thing. And you could count on each other and you communicated with each other.
Right.
And then through the course of advanced technology and whatnot, it moved into a numbers game, right? What numbers do you have? What do you do this? What do you do that? And well, to an extent for business, that's what it needs to be.
Right.
With the invention of social media, and everybody wants to be an influencer these days, and everybody's starting a podcast, and everybody's doing this and that, and it's like, it's so flooded that exactly what you said, it became meaningless. And now you're sponsored and partnered with 100 different people, or just sponsored for this one post that you made, rather than like as a real relationship. And I mean, the whole industry really is going back to that partnership is people, because you have to trust the person you're partnered with. You have to believe in what they're doing, because the numbers game just doesn't work. It's people are so finicky; they're in and out, and so hopefully, I mean, this is episode 89 for us, so hopefully you're happy with us.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for where we're going, but back onto where you guys are going, or where you came from, I should say. One of the big differences in the development of your company has been just the new materials, new goals, new things like that, and it seems like a huge proponent of that is you guys working with Peak 44 to get new stock, new stocks in, and new materials and such. Talk a little bit about that and kind of how that came about.
Yeah, so since we moved to Wyoming, there's just been a kind of an explosion of growth. It feels like I feel like every time I go out to the warehouse, and there's always a new machine doing something. So Peak for the Backcountry 2.0 series, Peak 44. We developed this brand called Peak 44, and it's a carbon fiber stock building company, and it's done there in Sheridan. And it was really built out of necessity. We were making so many rifles, we just couldn't, the stock manufacturers that we were using before just could not keep up with our production and like quality. So it's kind of the story of how that evolved is we started getting more and more raw stocks from certain companies. And then we're like, oh, we can finish that. We can do that here. So before you know it, we had this new proprietary 3D hex recoil pad that the engineering team was developing, and then we nailed the stock lane process. And with the Peak 44 stuff, we knew it had to be better on the market, right? So it's we use some of the strongest materials. It's like between our Blacktooth and Bastion stocks, they're two of the lightest production models, and they were built for Mark Vs, then evolved into Vanguards, and now Peak 44 is doing so well that we offer, we do on the side, we do REM 700 platforms, Model 307, 700 like clones, Tika. So we're really expanding that company in general, and yeah, so it's been great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know Dalton and I both, we have Mark Vs now with both of those stocks. So he has the 2.0 backcountry with the Blacktooth, and then I've got the Apex with the Bastion. And man, is that a sweet stock. I gotta say, that is very well done with the vertical grip and everything, and the way everything's just kind of flows. I really love that stock.
Yeah, my personal favorite is definitely the Bastion stock, the one that you have. For me, it's just super comfortable. It's kind of cool to be able to run another attachment if I need to run my bipod. I don't like running my sling to my bipod. I like to run it to the actual sling swivel stud.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's just something about that vertical grip that just promotes for me better shooting form too.
Yeah.
So for me, it fits my hand really, really well.
And to have all of that real estate and have it be so light, it's almost mind blowing. I don't even know how you guys pulled it off, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I definitely love a good lightweight rifle, especially on the backcountry series. We have rifles starting at 4.7 pounds with our titanium actions, and so there's always some trade offs there, right? Like so the rifle is always going to be accurate, right? But with a like the counter to a light rifle is that then it doesn't. If you have poor shooting form or something like that, it's really going to show just because it's super light. What I like to say too is if you don't need a super light platform, what I do like is that you start like lighter, so then I don't have to sacrifice on a scope that I want or these rings
exactly
or an attachment. It just makes that overall package that I might end up on like a backcountry steel version. I still might end up with an 8.5, 9 pound gun, but compared to 15 years ago, that's what the gun weighed without anything on it. So
right.
Yeah, there's definitely, I love to think of a rifle, man, they're just so they're pieces of art, but at the end of the day, they're also a tool and you're using it for a specific reason. You're not going to get a super light rifle if you're trying to be a, tactical PRS shooter. It's like, what are you using it for? If you need to make that one shot and you're 15 miles in the backcountry, yeah, I want a backcountry 2.0 Ti, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and along those lines, I mean, that was always a huge kind of almost a holdback, I would say, from getting the Mark V is it was the original models, unless you got like the Weather Guard, was a little bit more on the heavier side, with the wood stocks and everything like that. But what really made me gravitate towards those specifically with the Mark V lineup was trial and error with so many other kinds of rifles, and whether I like the bolt lift, right? I love a short bolt lift. There is no bolt lift shorter than a Mark V unless you do a straight pull. Yeah. That's really it. Yeah. The absolute bulletproof action that you guys have made over there. And just so many different features, just the built-in accuracy with every single one. And what I've loved to see is that you guys have taken that initiative to create these lighter versions of that. And with the Backcountry 2.0, with the Apex, I mean, my Apex dry is 6.5 pounds at a 24-inch barrel with, a large stock. It's not a small stock that you're sacrificing real estate on. Vertical grip, all that goodness. And, and like you said, putting a bigger scope on it, I was able to put, I want to say a dang near 30-ounce scope on my rifle and load it out with a full mag, which we'll talk about in a little bit when we get down the line. One of my favorite parts about the caliber that I chose to get it in. I mean, fully loaded, that thing's 8.1 pounds.
Yeah.
It's insane. For all that functionality.
Yeah, your Apex that you have, man, I love that rifle because it takes that classic, like if you ask guys from 20, 30 years ago, the AccuMark was like the rifle to have.
Yeah.
And it's got that, number 3 contour, fluted barrel, super accurate, like just tack driver, little on the heavier side. And then we came out with the Backcountry series a few years ago. And it's like, hey, if you could combine the best of both worlds, that's essentially how we, came up with the Apex. And to me, that one is one of my actual favorites to shoot because it just, man, with that Peak 44 stock, it just, the recoil, even on larger calibers, it's
nothing.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's so comfortable to shoot. I love that thing with the AccuBrake on the end and everything. I mean, it's so amazing to just. It's a kitty cat to shoot that thing. It really is. So, but talk about the development of the backcountry a little bit. I mean, so you had the backcountry 1, and then the backcountry 2.0 is what you guys are on now.
Yep.
A little bit of that for the mountain hunters that are listening.
Yeah, so we talked about kind of that passion and like the passion for the outdoors and things like that. When Adam took over the company not too long ago, it was before we moved to Wyoming, but he wanted to bring kind of that spirit. I like to say the spirit of what Roy did. When Roy was in his time, he was really pushing the limits and wanted to build things out of necessity, like where the market was going, newer edge things. So if you think about these hot rod cartridges back in 1945, Roy was kind of a pioneer. Well, with Adam, he really just brought some new energy, and we wanted to take Weatherby to where the market was gonna be. And at the end of the day, we're all hunters, so we needed tools for the backcountry. So honestly, that's kind of where that evolution started, is that like, hey, how do we get these powerful Magnum calibers in a really lightweight package, but still be able to manage recoil at the end of the day? So that's really kind of where it started, was from the love of DIY hunts. I mean, there's also a reason that that Adam ended up choosing Wyoming, was because of the hunting opportunities and the backpacking side of it. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few more testing opportunities there, I bet.
yeah.
So just real quickly here, in regards to the original backcountry series, were the original backcountry rifles built with Peak 44 stocks, or was Peak 44 in the game as the 2.0 was released?
So Peak 44 did launch on the backcountry series. So there was a 3D hex recoil pad on a stock. It was kind of a Gen 1. So the Gen 2, they refined that 3D hex pad, made it a little more rigid, so that those hexagonal blades in the stock actually ate up that recoil a little bit better. So that was the major overhaul, was truly that one, overall weight. They did a little bit different on the fill material, kind of a proprietary blend that makes it so light and so rigid.
Okay.
And then that 3D hex recoil pad was some of the bigger steps in that. Yeah. And then even the stock decorating side too. Like we came out with a couple of new looks there. Mm-hmm. And that's all done by hand. Those sponge paints are done by hand by people in Sheridan. So
well, let's take a break real quick.
All right, folks. We all know that one of the most common mishaps in hunting is damage to your rifle scope. Last year, I found the solution to that problem with the Stealthy Hunter rifle cover. It wraps around your scope and actions securely to protect it from getting knocked off of zero or even severely damaged. Stealthy Hunter also has a glassing pad and a wide variety of supplements for the outdoorsman, such as protein powder, CBD products, turmeric, and gut health supplements. They also make a lightweight trauma kit weighing in at just 14 ounces that includes everything you need and nothing you don't for all of your backcountry medical emergencies. To shop all of their equipment and supplements, go to StealthyHunter.com and enter the discount code at checkout, The Northern Hunter, to save on your order today. All Stealthy Hunter equipment is proudly made in the USA.
Hammer Bullets produces what we at the Northern Hunter consider to be the most premium and best working monolithic bullets on the market today. These bullets are easy to load, extremely accurate, and best of all, they're always in stock and ready to ship. The guys at Hammer designed them so that after penetrating the hide of an animal, it sheds its petals, initiating a massive energy dump while retaining the rear shank for maximum penetration. These bullets are built with 100% focus on how they perform on game, and their proprietary designs produce great BCs with specialized pressure grooves for amazing inherent accuracy and speed. They have a minimum expansion velocity of 1,800 feet per second, which allows for long-range shots, but with no maximum velocity, making them perfect for every cartridge from your granddaddy's old 30-30 to the high-velocity round like the Weatherby 3378 without having to worry about your bullet failing. To view their expansive selection and find the perfect match for your hunting needs, go to hammerbullets.com and use discount code TheNorthernHunter to drop the hammer on your next adventure.
All right, so we were just talking about there with the Backcountry 2.0, Tyler. That was released at the same time, I believe, as the cartridge that James and I both chose to go with in the Mark V. So talk about the release of the latest round from Weatherby and the Backcountry 2.0 rifle series.
Yeah, so we recently released our 338 RPM, which is, so if you're not as familiar with a Weatherby, essentially we have what we call our 9-lug action, which is our magnum action, and then we have our standard action, which is our 6 lugs. So what that means is it has 6 locking lugs versus 9 locking lugs. Our 6 locking lugs, our six lug action is just a smaller action, a lot more lightweight. So most of our magnum cartridges fit in that 9 lug. So we've purpose-built 2 cartridges. It started with 6.5 RPM to fit into that smaller action. And then with 338 RPM, we essentially took that 6.5 RPM cartridge that we made and then necked it up to 338. We talked about tools earlier and weapons being kind of tools. We wanted to be able to create the lightest rifle with larger caliber performance. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we wanted to, like, how can we stick a 338 cartridge into the lightest rifle package we could make? So essentially with the Backcountry TI, we ended up with a rifle that had a cartridge that was 4.95 pounds. So yeah, it was truly built out of, man, this thing is a tool, and we wanted to make a hammer for the Backcountry. And with that cartridge, it is just an efficient cartridge. So typically with Weatherby, you need really long barrels to be able to have time to burn that powder and really take advantage and get those like velocities that like Weatherby is used to, like you're seeing, because in most of all the caliber ranges, Weatherby's going to have either the second or the fastest cartridge within that, its respective caliber.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but with 338, with those, it's such an efficient cartridge that we didn't have to do a 26-inch barrel. We started cutting them down to 24. And then when they even were doing some testing on 18-inch barrels, they just saw that the velocity loss was actually closer to, 50 to 75 feet per second, not like typically you get about 75 to 100 per inch that you're taking off.
Mm-hmm.
So the cartridge just turned out to be super efficient, and an 18-inch barrel, that lightweight rifle, it just made for the perfect, Alaska gun for Alaska, a gun, especially if you're going for like moose or bear or all these things that, you want to have some meat behind the bullet, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's by far my favorite part. I'm not going to lie to you. I was resistant to the idea at first. When I first started seeing the 338 RPM, I'm like, take a 6.5 and neck it up. That can't be that great, thinking it'd be all underpowered. But I mean, when I started running the numbers and looking at things and what you guys did and with how efficient that cartridge really is, it's mind blowing. And the greatest thing, and this was kind of a factor the one I referenced, I was going to come back to with my Mark V Apex, is the 338 RPM out of a 24-inch barrel is on par, basically foot per second for foot per second with a Win Mag, 338 Win Mag. And the amazing thing is, it's such a light package. I mean, like I said, full loadout, 8.1 pounds, with 4 down plus 1. That is just amazing.
That's what, when you're looking at it on paper, sometimes we do get that, that's exactly the scenario that a lot of times people will be like, hey, but it's just 338 Win Mag performance. It's like, okay, but now in some cases you're going to save 2 pounds on your action.
Yeah.
And that's why it's purpose built. So we were able to get it into this smaller package.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, because we're always working on new cartridges and stuff, and there's things that we could come out with, but it's like, we know that this one is purpose built and it's different. So again, we could develop the ballisticians at Weatherby, they are always working on something, right? But it takes a lot to want to bring something to market and make sure that it is, again, not just a Wildcat cartridge. We want a lot.
Well, and to kind of those points, I was at the range the other day and with a buddy of mine, and we were getting some stuff dialed in for a bear hunt we've got coming up this next week, and we were leaving, and he goes to pick up my rifle. I've got it in one of those stealthy rifle covers, and so it's got the little handle above the scope, and he goes to pick it up. He's all dramatic. He's like, "Whoa!" And like gets up above his head and everything with how light it is. He's like, "Dude, this is nothing. It's air." You know? And I know yours, Dalton. Yours feels like a toy.
Mine's even lighter. Yeah.
Yours is what, 5.5 pounds? Dry?
Tyler, you would know better than I would at this point. I've got the Backcountry 2.0 with an 18-inch barrel and the steel action. How much does that one weigh?
It is 5.4 pounds, so just under 5 pounds.
5.4, and I've got a Leupold Mark IV 1 to 4.5 on there, so it's not real heavy. Mm-hmm. Very, very light gun.
But it's such an amazing. I mean, what I refer to that the Apex now is that's my dual. Literal dual. I mean, if I'm going after sheep, that's what I'm taking. If I'm going, if I swap out the scope, I'll take it to the bear bait, because I just don't like walking in there with a 4 power as my lowest. But I'll do it, but I'd prefer a 1 power. But like, I mean, it literally it has all the power in the world. I mean, with any 200 and up grain bullet, you're pushing well north of 4,000 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. You're pushing really good velocities, and it's just a really amazing combo package there of that makes it a perfect dual, which I think is the best part about everything you guys have been doing over there at Weatherby. Is it's just for everyone now. It's not just for the old timers. I know there was a lot of pushback. I like seeing on you guys' social media when 338 RPM first came out with the old school Weatherby 340 guys and whatnot, and oh, this cartridge isn't anything special, blah, blah, blah. This doesn't hold true. And it's like, but, the mission changed. It wasn't supposed to be a speedball. It wasn't supposed to be this absolute overbore, fastest on the market cartridge, and personally, it was you guys absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. What I do like to say, though, is we're not going to stop doing the stuff that's, traditional Weatherby. We're still going to make woodstock guns. We're going to still, load those super fast cartridges. We're never going to get away from that at the end of the day. So this is just a larger part of our business now. When it comes to, we want your grandpa's Mark V, but we also want your future Mark V, right? So we just want to be that spot for Weatherby. We don't want to get left in the past, and we want to be pushing and leading the future, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of moving into the future, tell us about your guys' newest action. First new action in a long time.
So it's been 50 years, man. It just Mark V's and Vanguards have just been a staple in the industry. And then last year we did come out with our Model 307 action, and just a little bit about it is, with a Mark V and a Vanguard, those are rifles that we like to say are ready out of the box. There's not a ton of customization, and there's not a lot of aftermarket support for those. Just because the way we built those and the models that we make on those, it's like if you're essentially getting already a custom rifle out of the box kind of thing. So, but we did see that there was a need in the market, for a Weatherby. Maybe people tended to shy away from Weatherby if they wanted to shoot like competition shooting, or they wanted to they're more of a tinker, right? We like to call it gun Legos, right? If you want to start with this gun and then drop it into another stock. So we wanted to have a platform that you could still do all those things, but it's still uniquely Weatherby. So we did come out with an action that is kind of based off of a REM 700 footprint. It's no surprise or no secret that pretty much every aftermarket, there's always aftermarket options from triggers, stocks, rails, scope mounts, all the things, right? So we wanted to have a Weatherby platform for that. And again, we've never really offered a traditional, like a drop box mag. We've always done hinge floor plate stuff. So we wanted to be able to offer that. So at the end of the day, our Model 307 action really complements our Mark V and our Vanguard. It doesn't really replace anything. So, and we like it because the action's made in the U.S. Everything on that one's made in the U.S. like the Mark V's. So
yeah. And I mean, the Remington 700 blueprint, the base model there. I mean, the beauty of it is not only can the user toy with it if they want to and play with it and order all these different stocks and triggers and everything like that, but it seems like it's allowed you guys to change up what you offer as well with the having a chassis and the MDT, and then offering many different lineups. I think you guys just released the what was it, the Spike Camp model as well. And
Spike Camp was in the Vanguard, but we
was that a Vanguard? Okay.
We did release an Adventure, which is a wood stock.
Okay.
And then I can't give too much out, but kind of when this podcast is about launching, we're going to have a couple of new options as well. So it has allowed us to do things like chassis, and the future is bright, and there's a lot of different directions we can go with it. So
yeah, I know that was my big attraction to the 307 was when you guys first came out with it and you had the chassis model with the folding stock and everything. I mean, that is just game changing, for a lot of people. So
yeah, that's another platform that is really light. And it just, man, that chassis from MDT is just, they're great partners, and it just is a great value with that action barrel combination. Man, some of those chassis custom rifles can get pretty pricey, north of $5,000. And, we have that one starting at less than $3,000. So, and then on the other side of that, we have our Range XP, which is an you get adjustable length of pull, adjustable cheek piece, adjustable trigger, all these features. And that one is less than $1,200. So we're able to offer a lot of value for consumers if they want to, get into a little bit different configuration that we offer on a Mark V.
Yeah. Tyler, I just have one quick question for you in regards to the 307. I noticed that there was a big uptick in caliber offerings when you guys came out with the 307 rifle platform. Traditionally, it was possibly a little bit more difficult, you could say, to find some of your more traditional mainstream non-Weatherby cartridges available in a Weatherby rifle. And that was kind of a turnoff for some people, if they didn't want to just shoot a Weatherby cartridge. But you guys opened that door for people to be able to get a 307 and a lot of those more mainstream rounds made by other companies, such as the 6.5 PRC, 7 PRC, 300 PRC. I think 28 Nosler is on that list as well. 300 Win Mag, obviously, 7 Rem Mag, 30-06. Just talk a little bit about how the 307 has opened the door for you guys to be able to load some of those other rounds for folks.
Yeah, we wanted this to be a platform that was, could be tailored to just about anyone's either hunting style or shooting style or cartridge tinkering. So yeah, we wanted to keep some of those historic Weatherby Magnums in there, but then did want to offer some of those newer, hotter rounds. So even in some of the Mark V stuff, we started offering 7 PRC, 28 Nosler. We've always offered 280 Ackley, but it's also kind of comes to the maturity of our brand as well. Kind of another door that moving to Wyoming has opened is just, we are really good at loading ammo now. And so that we've actually started, loading our own Weatherby ammo in 300 PRC, 7 PRC, 28 Nosler. And all of those bullet selections are going to be like a hammer, or something that's not offered by, another major manufacturer. So
yeah,
we wanted to have kind of that hand loader precision for harder to find cartridges like 280 Ackley or 28 Nosler.
Yeah.
Even 7 PRC is a little bit tough to find unless it's a Hornady option. So we wanted to be able to offer that because we can, and we jokingly like to say we do ballistics better. So I'll probably get in trouble for that one, but I always like to say that. So it's pretty fun. We got guys that that's what they're born to do is tinker. So yeah, it's just it feels like 307 was a great avenue to start that, and then just it's again kind of that whole evolution of moving to Wyoming and just being better at what we do good, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think just on the note of Weatherby premium ammunition, right? So when I first got my Mark V in 338 RPM, I kind of wanted to do a barrel break-in just because that's what I've usually done with just one box of ammo, right? Just a 20-round barrel break-in. Whether it's needed or not, it's not going to hurt anything. And I was going to shoot hand loads, 205 grain hammer bullets out of that gun last year. So before I was going to start launching hand loads and testing accuracy and velocity with those, I decided to go to Sportsman's and pick up a few boxes of the factory ammo that I could find for it, which has been surprisingly readily available for the 338 RPM.
Yeah.
I got to give Sportsman's credit for that. I picked up some 225 grain Nosler Accubons that you guys load in your Weatherby ammunition. And just testing that through the chronograph, just because I was curious what my velocity loss was going to be, having, like we said, that 18-inch barrel versus a 24-inch barrel. I wanted to see what my loss was. And through that process of shooting off, I think I ended up shooting through the course of a few days, just testing out the gun and stretching it out different distances. I think I chronographed about 30 rounds of that factory ammo from you guys, and it was surprisingly consistent velocities. I mean, the standard deviation was in the single digits, and it was very, very accurate, very consistent ammo. Something that I really haven't had a whole lot of with different factory ammunition companies. Not to say that there isn't other good factory ammo out there certainly is, but even in some other, we'll just call them premium lineups, I've seen standard deviations of 25 to 30 feet a second.
Oh, sure.
And that's not extreme spread. That's standard deviation.
Right.
And your guys's was much tighter tolerances. So that's a great credit to you guys and your attention to detail, I'm sure, that goes into that loading process for your ammo.
Yeah, there is a ton of lot testing, and anytime there's a new powder keg and the mixings and all of the things, right? You buy the powder, right? And it's just like every powder is just a little bit different. So every lot has to have that little bit of human testing, and that's being done, on a regular basis. I can't quite remember exactly what the testing protocol is, but it's like every 2,000 rounds they're testing 5 and making sure velocity's on and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to see that.
Yeah, no, and I can attest to that as well. It's exceptionally consistent.
Yeah,
and also accurate, but not in the means of down range. But I mean, what you guys advertise it to do, it does.
Yeah.
That's another thing with a lot of premium rounds that you see from other manufacturers is the box might say it does this and does that, but then you take it to the range and throw the chronograph on, and it's like, well, I guess it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you guys, I mean, you're very true to what the box says it'll do, and so I appreciate that as well. That makes it easy for people.
Yeah, we definitely pride ourselves, especially when we're always trying to be the fastest in most of those calibers. We don't like to fluff the number, because we know that's why people buy our ammo at the end of the day, is because of that precision, and then also, especially, or just in general, a Weatherby caliber, because you're looking for that velocity, you're looking for the best. So that's essentially how we take that every day.
So on the topic of ammo and you guys' loadings, talk a little bit about you guys' partnership with our good friends over at Hammer Bullets. You guys are partnered with them and load their bullets in your stuff. You'd mentioned them earlier. Talk a little bit about how that came about and how you guys have been working together and kind of the goals there.
Yeah, Hammer's been a great ad for us. It just during COVID, there was a lot of things that got a little bit crazy with supply chain and doing all the things. And man, I think the Hammer relationship was really born from our ballistician team, and we were testing them, and we shoot the same projectiles a lot and all these things. So for us to come on with a new kind of startup, I don't know, like I'm sure you guys know a ton about Hammer, but they're kind of a small little custom machine shop. One of my first 2 weeks of being at Weatherby, we flew up to Kalispell and saw it, and it's a pretty cool little shop that they got there. But yeah, just at the end of the day, those things just like to go fast, and the terminal performance it is a great combination with Weatherby, and they've just been great to work with. I think we're one of the, we were the first and still probably the only that loads it on a production scale. And since we've been doing it for about 3 years now, and now we essentially have a Hammer option in just about every single caliber selection now. So
that's amazing.
Some of them we have multiple calibers, but yeah, man, it's just the joke on the marketing and sales team is that we feel like the ballisticians are getting paid by Hammer, because it's like, man, if that guy won't shoot, we'll just shoot it out with a hammer, right? So they just shoot consistent and me personally, I've had great terminal performance. So that's
Mm.
when it comes to the hunting side, you can be as accurate as possible. But once it hits that animal, and I know that's one of the big things that they preach over there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's just, man, it's really unique. Every animal that I've shot, that the petals come off, that creates that hemorrhaging, and then you get a good little, square mushroom that just punches through. So it's a great combination.
Well, and that's what I thought as soon as I saw that you guys were loading the hammers. It's like it's the perfect marrying of two groups, right? Because you got a bullet that can go as fast as you can possibly zing it and still hold up to that speed and that impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to grenade, and if anything, it's going to grenade the way it's supposed to even more,
Right.
and create a more dramatic effect.
Right.
And then you've got the cartridge company who provide makes some of the fastest zinging rounds in the industry. I mean, that combo is just, it's a match made in heaven, if you ask me. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, I feel like every trip that anyone goes on, it seems like hammer's the box of choice nowadays. And then I don't know if you guys have experienced this. We call it the hammer trail. So they look really good on camera too. For whatever reason, you can just see the vapor trail really well. I know that we've got a bunch of different crazy theories about, is there the oil burning off? But no, we actually have the guys there for our production stuff. We have them, spin it so the oil comes out and all these crazy things. But at the end of the day, it looks pretty darn cool on camera too.
Yeah. They are fun to watch go down range at longer distances anyway.
That's got to be a little trick Steve just won't let out of his hat.
Yeah, Steve has probably got something he specifically makes the bullets and then, all right, put them in the soaker so they make a hammer trail.
Yeah, can't tell the secret of the magic's gone.
Yeah, that sounds like something Steve would do just for Steve's best kept secret.
Yep.
Well, kind of on that note, Tyler, I guess this would be a good time to talk about your deer hunt. If folks are familiar with Brian Call and the Gritty YouTube channel, they saw you and Adam and I think a couple other guys from the Weatherby team travel to Alaska to hunt black-tailed deer and ducks last year. But you were on that deer hunt, and you were I think you were able to kill was it one buck?
Yeah, we all did. So for non-residents, last year was the first year they went to one. And that was my first experience in Kodiak. Man, it was pretty amazing. We had a great crew. We had Brian and Brad, and then myself, Adam, and then we had a rider named Joe Ferranato, and then Peak 44, JD from Peak 44. So it was a great crew. Honestly, man, I feel like I think about it every day. It's one of those trips that just like the scenery, where you're at. We actually did get pretty darn good weather. And you're just seeing a lot of animals. It was a great time. So
yeah. And what rifle and cartridge and bullet were you using on that hunt, Tyler?
I used I was using the Mark V High Country, which is got a bastion stock on it and a number 2 contour barrel. So it's kind of the in between your Apex and Backcountry series, where it's a little bit lighter than an Apex, but it has a lighter barrel on it. So
gotcha.
Right
and then my so I was shooting 300 Weatherby. Sorry, I didn't answer the whole question. 300 Weatherby, and I was shooting the 195 grain hammers. And the cool thing about that rifle is that rifle kind of made a couple of rounds. It was we launched that rifle kind of in that time frame, or a little bit after. It would have been after, because we were doing some testing, but Adam killed a elk, same gun, same setup, killed a Colorado elk, like a 350-inch bull. Then I killed one in Kodiak, and then Luke, our chief, VP of marketing, he shot a great mule deer with it. So all same setup, just 3 totally different scenarios. So it was pretty cool. But we found it to be very lethal. My buck, if you go and watch Brian's thing, pretty much straight down kind of deal. So it was awesome.
Yeah. Was that a hammer hunter bullet, or was that a shock hammer? Do you remember?
So with our production hammers, it's actually kind of a cross. They actually kind of make us a bullet. It's like a hammer hunter, but it's slightly different. I couldn't tell you the math of why it's slightly different, but it is slightly different. So,
Yeah, I noticed that on all of your loadings. It's the Hammer Custom
Yeah.
is what it's labeled
yeah,
as.
it's
Not.
just it's slightly different, and that was in a partnership with our ballisticians and them. So I know there is a quite, but it is very close to the Hunters. So
Okay.
Yeah, and I
Gotcha.
know they have. I mean, man, Hammer has so many different options, words. And it's one of the most amazing things about them is their different, how many different, just not only calibers, but within each caliber,
Right,
there's so many
right.
different options.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with even a 190, I mean, the speeds you get off these things, I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I don't know what you guys are getting out of the 300 Weatherby, but I'm assuming it's zinging.
yeah, that one I believe it was like 32.25 or 32.50.
Oh my.
195 grain. Yeah, it's going pretty darn fast. So
Wow.
yeah, pretty awesome.
There's not much, if anything, in North America that you couldn't kill easily with that combination.
Mhm.
That is
No.
quick for a 195. That's really fast.
Yeah. So in September, another kind of 300 Weatherby Hammer combo story. I did my first DIY like moose hunt float with a friend, and he was shooting pretty similar setup. He was actually shooting an Apex, but same bullet, and he shot a moose at 325, and it was like instant light switch. Like he
Yeah.
was slightly quartering right behind the shoulder, didn't like just hit the shoulder, right behind the shoulder. He was dead before he hit the ground, kind of thing. So
Wow.
it was pretty awesome. We do there's footage somewhere on Instagram somewhere, but it was pretty awesome. So
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. There's a good chance I probably missed that when I was in and out of town that time of year. But I don't think I realized that you went on that hunt with your friend. I'm definitely have to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
yeah, so we
that's
did
always
that.
fun.
So it was a writer friend. So he lives up in Billings, and that's not too far of a drive. So we planned the whole deal. We flew to Fairbanks, drove the Hall Road.
Yeah.
Got our honorary flat tire like everyone always does.
Of course.
So we did that, and then we picked the spot. We transported it on an airboat, and then we got into some bowls, and it was the grind where it rained 8 of the 11 days. And then the last morning of the last hour of the hunt, we're able to connect. So it's
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you had to work the knife really fast because now you're out of time.
Yeah, we were out of time. It was like the most grueling hunt, and then it was just like it was meant to be, because again, we're packing to go meet the transport. It's 8:15, and the transport's coming at 9. And then all of a sudden it was like a weird, crazy, just like the nicest day that we had been there. And all of a sudden we were like packing, and we just hear this like, we're like, no, and we're packing. And we hear it again, and Dale like kind of looks over, he goes over, and he's like, there's a bull. And then he like grabs his, like he can see it with his naked eye, grabs his binos, and sure enough, 1,000 yards out there is a shooter. And we grab spotters, we're scrambling. We get the spotter on him. He's got 4 brows. We had a couple super close calls with like a bull that he's either 49.5 or 50.5. So,
Yeah.
can't play that game.
Nope.
No.
And this one had four brows, and he was a no-brainer. And man, from our vantage point, again, he's about 1,000 yards, maybe 900. And we just give him a cow call, and he just coming on a rope. And Dale looks at me. He's like, "Are we doing this?" And it was something explicit. And then, yes, we are. And so yeah, the bull just kept coming. And man, he then got to 500, and it's like, oh, we feel comfortable here. But he just kept coming, and he walked all the way to the sandbar that we were going to get picked up on. So we go from 1,000 yards.
Perfect.
And again, light switch right on the sandbar on our side of the river, and the rest is kind of history. So we get down there. We hadn't even got to the bull by the time our transport got there. And he was an awesome dude. We're like, hey, we just killed the bull. And he's like, nice. Where's all the meat? It's like, well, we killed him like 10 minutes ago. So anyways, we roll up over there, and he's a great bull. He's like 58 inches wide, and
Perfect.
we get to working on him. And of course, he's a transporter, so he can't aid or do any of the help or anything. So we get to work on him. They took me back. It was me and it was our buddy Josh was with us too. So they started working on the bull. I went and packed off the rest of camp, and packed it down to the river, which was pretty awesome. So did that and then finished it up. And man, it was like one of those trips where it's like, it's so awesome. Like, this is a great experience. But it's like never as good unless you kill something, like at the end of the day. Like,
right.
It was a crazy good experience. And then for it to end like that, we had so many good opportunities too. We had brought rafts to like plan on floating to another spots, but we were pretty much in bowls the whole time. There was just a couple times where they were either borderline or when like on the distance from the river, and we had a couple of stocks, and Dale was going to be first shooter the whole time. So I think he had 2 opportunities on some really good bulls that we just couldn't get close enough. As we cut that distance, it just got so thick and we couldn't get advantage to make a shot.
Yeah.
And then we had, I think it was day 6 or 7 when we had that one bull come into shooting range, and he was just like, we could have shot him like 50 times kind of thing. And it just, he was just too close. He was a borderline. So that was a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely people that play that game, but it's never a good idea.
It's not worth it.
Like,
yeah, definitely not worth it.
Yeah. Alaska operates, what is it, the 16th of an inch rule? So
if it's not 50, it's not 50.
Yeah, they don't cut.
There's no such thing as slack.
We were able to get a great read on him, and the reason we know he was that close was because we did you guys might know this, but like a good tip from people down in the lower 48 is we did all the conversions to measure with our scopes. We were rocking mills, so we did all the math out to 1,000 of how wide he had to be, all the way down into 100 kind of thing, so we could measure pretty good.
Yeah.
We actually, one of us did bring a spotter too that had a mill spotter in it, so we were like it was crazy. There were certain times where it's like he is 50.5 inches, and then he'd look a little bit. It's like, well, you do the math, and now he's 49.5. So it was funny. We never got bigger than 52, and we never got lower than 49. So it was like, man, but it was a cool experience.
He ended up getting a 58 anyway, and that's better. So
yep, there you go.
Much better.
And counting brow tines is always the safest route to go.
Yes.
You guys did good on that one.
Yeah. And it's not very often that you get a bull that you shoot with a rifle that just goes down immediately with just one shot. That doesn't hit in the spine. You know, that's not very common.
We recovered I should send you a picture. We recovered that's like actually one of the only 300 Weatherbys that I've recovered, because usually it's a pass through, but I do have it, and it looked like it performed perfectly. So shed all its petals, and was just on the hide on the other side.
Yeah.
It must have been like just under the hide in that other shoulder, because we found it when we were processing it. We found like hemorrhage on the opposite side, must have just been from petals, honestly. Yeah. So then we ended up finding it, processing it. So
I mean, moose are dense animals. They'll stop a lot of bullets.
Definitely dense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So was that just your second trip to Alaska then, or?
So at that time, that was in September. So that was my first trip.
Oh, your first
trip. Kodiak was then Kodiak was my second trip. 2 totally different hunts. With Kodiak, it was same thing with the charter, but we were able to stay in like a lodge and have like a nice place to go back every time.
Oh, nice.
And then they drop us off the boats and do the whole thing. So it was cool to super rough it. Like we were. We could have brought more things. Now, the more I learn now about transports is you have a lot more room for gear. I was a little worried when the transporter's like, "This is all you have." Yep.
Right.
They're like, no coolers, no beer or anything. I'm like, yeah, I brought just like my normal backpacking stuff. So
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, you probably could have brought a wall tent.
We definitely could have brought a wall tent. So, Oh, and I was also in charge of bringing a secondary TP pit tent. And make sure you set the TP up before you go, because when you have an office full of tents that everyone uses, You might accidentally grab the wrong one that wasn't. In fact, it was just the insert. So
Oh no.
it's really tough. It's a really tough pill to swallow when you're the guy to bring the cook tent. And it's like, oh yeah, I got one of those nice, really nice big seek outside tents. And yeah, so that was tough.
It's not something you want to wait till you're 400 miles away from civilization to find out too.
No.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's all right, Tyler.
Luckily we had the Alaskan blue tarp. I feel like that's also like an Alaskan thing. So we had a nice blue tarp tent. So
Yeah. I think I still have you beat, Tyler. One time I backpacked into somewhere looking for late fall grizzly bears, and my buddy and I made it up into the mountains, cut up into the Alpine. Almost dark. A storm was a brewing. We were going to camp that night and then hunt all the next day and the next day after that. And I pulled out the tent, staked it out to the ground, and I had forgotten the tent poles down at the truck.
Oh no! Now you just have like a really nice bivvy, I guess.
Yeah. And we ended up just packing it up, ate a mouthful of beef jerky, drank a bottle of water, and walked back in the dark back to the truck and started over again the next day. So, never done that before, never done it since, and I hope not to.
Yeah, no, it's like, I brought all of the things except for that. So that was kind of my one flounder when it comes to Alaska. But yeah, no, it's been great to expand and do some of these more adventure hunts. I'm going back to Alaska here in about another month or so. Going to do black bears.
Nice.
So yeah, Alaska, once you go once, it's pretty hard not to go back. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get up here too many more times, maybe you just won't leave. That's what happened to a lot of people. So.
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, Adam, we need to set up a Alaskan office.
Yeah. It'd be great. You can fly your plane up here. We'll have all this stuff. Yeah.
Arctic Weatherby.
I'll present that.
I like it.
I'll present that at the next marketing meeting.
There you go. There you go.
Tell them the Northern Hunter is encouraging it.
Yep. We've got a little bit of spare office space over here. It's okay. Well, so talk a little bit. So, the rest of us up here are gearing up for bear season, and getting our baits out and doing some spot and stalk and whatever we can. A lot of people are turkey hunting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And while Weatherby is known for your remarkable bolt action rifles, all your, wonderful things we just talked about, you've also got a really great lineup of shotguns available, and looked like a new addition recently. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this past March, we launched a new shotgun called the Sorex. So Weatherby, yes, definitely known for rifles. We've been making and selling, designing shotguns for over 50 years now, which it just is crazy. We're just known for the rifle side for good, right? But we just launched the Sorex, and we honestly wanted to take kind of the things that we do good on the rifle side and bring that into our shotgun lineup. So the Sorex has a lot of cool custom features, kind of like things that you would find in a Mark V, right? Like if I'm comparing the quality, we have a partner in Italy. So it's an Italian-made shotgun. Kind of a cool thing about the factory and company that we work with there is they're also a family-owned business. It's a father-son. They work together in tandem, so that's kind of a fun little side story that I always like to tell. But yeah, it's no secret Italians make really good shotguns. And so where it's kind of unique for us is that we had our 18i shotgun, which we still make in a woodstock gun. It's a great platform. It's kind of a proven platform. So with the Sorex, we were able to use that platform and then design it around being a dual waterfowl kind of turkey shotgun too. So great for wing shooting. So, and then we wanted to take what we do good at Weatherby, which is fit and finish, final assembly, all the quality in check. So we actually then all the stock work, we essentially get a barreled action if you must. And then we do the hand painted touch points, assembly, and then all of those things. So it's a great shotgun. And Man, so on shotguns, we like to say they're endurance tested, field proven. So we always put them through the paces, and then we get out and hunt with them. So the Sorex, we got to do a lot of cool trips, go to a lot of different flyways to make sure that it was a platform that was going to work in different environments. So we hunted in Wyoming, Montana, and then from there the team kind of split. We had a guy go to Pacific Northwest, hunted Oregon, California. I went down south and hunted in the flooded timber of Arkansas. We went to Kodiak, did some of the saltwater stuff. So we went to Canada, where it's a little bit higher volume shooting. So we definitely put it through the paces, and it turned out to be a really great product that we're proud of. On the turkey side, it's drilled and taps right out of the box, so you can throw a red dot on there. If you're a guy from Minnesota too that wants to shoot a slug out of a smooth bore, you can throw a pick rail on there and a scope. It's just a very cool, versatile platform. It's funny, turkey hunting in the West is just like, I'm from Missouri originally, so turkey hunting is much more sacred in Missouri than it is in Wyoming. So and it's always fun. You got to tell all the Western guys that it's just like elk hunting, and they'll get all riled up. But no, I'm one of those guys where there's things that I tend to like more, but I'm kind of a what season it is. And with Weatherby having shotguns and rifles, there's a lot of opportunities to be able to go a lot of different places and experience a lot of different things. So we've already taken with red dots. I went to Mississippi and Kentucky, some really cool kind of historical turkey hunting states if you're versed up on the turkey side. So it's been a lot of fun to go to these different places and see these kind of different cultures.
And with this new Sorex, so that is it looks to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's fully Cerakoted, right?
Yep.
And then what material is that stock made of?
So it's just a poly stock.
Okay.
But then you see the patterns on that. That is all hand sponge painted, all finished.
Beautiful.
So it's got a cool rubber touch point. So it fits on your face really well. You can adjust the cast and shim. And then it has what we call the switch system in it, where you can actually take that charging handle and move it to the left side. So if you're a left-handed user, you get that charging handle out. Yeah, you get that charge. So there's a cut on the receiver on the left side. You can pop out that charging handle, move it to the other side. The trigger assembly is super easy to pop out as well, and you can swap the safety. So now you have a left-handed experience. From most of the left-handed guys that we've gotten a ton of good feedback on, one of the hardest things for them is that shell is ejecting on a semi-auto. It's ejecting so fast that you don't actually see the shell. What bothers lefties shooting a right-handed gun is that charging handle that is constantly like cycling back into your face. So able to get that out of the sight picture, and then just the ergonomics of like trying to flip a safety when you're left-handed. Those are kind of the two major pain points. In a perfect world, yes, it would eject out the left side, but it gives a lot of versatility because even a lot of left-handed shotgun shooters have just been used to shooting right-handed. So now you can buy a shotgun that if you do want to try it left-handed, you can switch. But a lot of guys are like, man, I'm not quite sure I do want to shoot a left-handed shotgun. So it makes it a little bit versatile.
Yeah, they can go either way. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's the kind of innovation, what we were talking about earlier is just, it's amazing the thought that's going into these things, and just the inclusion of anybody that wants to be in the hunting world with a quality weapon. I mean, just simple designs like that, it's so, listening to you talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, of course. Like, but then it's so innovative, and that's one of your inertia driven, correct?
Yes.
3 to 3 inch or 3.5
on Weatherby. So we, on the Sorex, we offer 20 gauge 3-inch, and then we have 3 and 3.5. So if you're a guy who wants to just shoot threes, but then we do offer super mag as well. So a lot of different options. We have a couple different patterns. We'll come out with a few camo dips for the guys who like camo down the road. But just walking through the line, we have our Sorex, we have our 18i, which now is kind of transitioned into the Woodstock side. We have our 18i Deluxe, and then we have our 18i Limited, which is a super. It's an upland gun. It's very beautiful. It's got real gold inlays on it. It's got a custom pattern. On that shotgun, we actually only do a finite amount at a time. So we'll only do so many, and then we'll switch patterns up in the future. So those are like kind of the hand grave Italian type artwork that goes on those. So there's not, they take a lot to make, and they have the fancy grade wood and or exhibition grade wood and all of those super beautiful things. Kind of like if you think of like a Mark V Deluxe rifle, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Very similar vibes. So
Yeah.
so
It's a
we have
beautiful
our
piece.
18Is. Yeah, it's a fun gun to shoot too. And then we have our Element line, which is kind of like if you were to compare our Mark V to Vanguard, we have our Sorex to Element. Element's an awesome gun, super reliable. It's a similar inertia system. It's just going to be a little bit friendlier on the value. So it's going to be a little bit price friendly for guys getting into them. And man, we sell a lot of Elements, and it's cool because we get to see all the customer service return rates and all those things, and we can get really nitty gritty into the data. And we do not get very many of those backs. They just flat out work. So that's a great line for us. We have everything from an upland wood stock to name your camo pattern on those. So, and then kind of the polar opposite of, semi-auto shotguns, we have our over and unders and side by side. So our Ryan lines that we're pretty darn proud of. They're pretty fun.
Yeah, those are slick looking as well, and I would love to get my hands on one.
Yeah. Only thing I would say is I just wish that I could get my hands on a fully Cerakoted and polymer stocked over and under. That is my idea of the perfect shotgun because it's simple. I'm not a super knowledgeable semi-auto shotgun guy. I've only ever borrowed one shotgun to use, and it was my grandpa's 30-inch barreled 870 probably from the 1980s at this point, honestly. But I in my mind, when I think of a bird hunting shotgun, it's just what comes to my head is that classic over and under shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And so someday when you come out with maybe a Cerakoted poly version of the Orion over and under, then you let old Dalton know.
I'll let him know. I'll tell the Sportsman's guys there's a guy who's waiting for one of those up there in Fairbanks. So
Yeah.
There you go.
You do that. You do that.
Special edition. There you go. Single lineup.
Yeah. Only one made.
I'm sure you could buy it and have it Cerakoted and find a.
Well, yeah, but if I had it made there at the factory, then I could get Tyler to autograph it or something.
There you
like
go.
that.
There,
So-
yeah.
then it's worthless.
No resale value.
at that point.
Yeah. No resale value. No guaranteed it's going to go boom.
Right. Well, Tyler, I just wanted to say it's very obvious that you have found yourself in what I would say seems like a dream job. You seem very passionate about what you talk about and very excited for everything going on.
I was going to say, yeah, it's pretty, sorry, I keep cutting you off because I do get excited. It's one of those things where at the end of the day, it's fun to get to market something that you truly believe in. And at the end of the day, that makes my job easy. We get to, Weatherby, especially on the marketing side, we get to do a lot of authentic content. Like we don't have any agency work or anything. Everything is in-house. We have our graphic designer, videographer, all of that is internal. So it just makes it feel like everything we do, I know who did that. So it does make me super excited because, man, it's a brand that I'm proud to shoot. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, since this is a hunting podcast, do you have a favorite story to tell about a hunt you've gone on and what you used? I mean, other than the moose story up north or anything like that?
Yeah, let me think. There's quite a few of them. So I'm trying to just pick one. Man, it is a little hard with those Alaska ones being so adventurous. But man, you're putting me on the spot here. But I would say just any of those like super like grinded out hunts for me. It's those ones that I like to do the backpacking. I like the type 2 fun where it sucks. I like sleeping in the backcountry. So there's a host of some of those that kind of come to mind, but I don't know. It's hard to beat those 2 Alaska trips. Those are pretty high on my list right now. So
yeah, I can only imagine. All right. Well, you two gentlemen have anything else to add?
I don't believe so.
All righty.
I think I got what I wanted to say.
So I believe you said, Tyler, people should go check out Weatherby around the time that this podcast is coming out. Is that correct? Did you want to tease anything?
That is correct. So I think it's just going to be a couple days later. Be on the lookout. All I can add to it is if you're liking that Model 307 line and you like some carbon stuff, just be on the lookout in the next couple weeks. So beautiful.
There you go.
Well, thank you once again for coming on and talking to us. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation, and it's just a true testament to the passion that goes into this company, all the way from the head honchos with Adam to you with the marketing team, and just I can only imagine everybody involved at all levels is probably the same way from everything it sounds like. So
yeah, I'll leave you guys with this. One of my favorite things that Adam says is that every rifle has his name on it, and he doesn't take that lightly. So we think about that every day when we're building these things. So
beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Tyler. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Hopefully one day we'll share camp together or something. So
absolutely. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for hanging in on this one with us. If you haven't noticed, we are on our summer hours now, so shows are going to be a little bit shorter. We got a lot of time to spend in the woods and things to chase ourselves as well. So hopefully that doesn't put anybody off. But if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, or you just want to reach out to the show, you can go to thenorthernhunter.com, and we have our contact button there right at the top. You can also reach out to either one of our socials. Our Facebook has been having some problems, but we are reviving it rapidly. So that is... you can still reach us there with Messenger and everything. It's still active that way, but posting should be happening again soon. If you'd like to support what we're doing, we have a whole partners list on our page of all the companies that have partnered with us in various ways. Some have discount codes, and all of those links and codes are listed there. If you buy any hunting gear, we've mentioned Stealthy in this podcast. He's got some great gear. We've got Hammer Bullets. They also have a code with us. 60-inch Club with Troy Sessions has a code with us. And if you get anything from from those and use the discount code, especially Batum 907 this time of year, it's time to chase bears around in the woods. So make sure you're getting some Batum 907 and use the code TNHP at checkout to get yourself a little bit of discount there. That all helps us. It helps these companies out a lot too, and we're very happy to work with them, as well as working with Weatherby. And you guys have done a lot partnering with us to support our mission and what we're doing. No discount code, but we are very happy to be supported by you guys and represent you in a good light. So, and aside from that, until next week, get out there, get after it, and good luck. We'll see you there. Hammer Bullets produces what we at the Northern Hunter consider to be the most premium and best working monolithic bullets on the market today. These bullets are easy to load, extremely accurate, and best of all, they're always in stock and ready to ship. The guys at Hammer designed them so that after penetrating the hide of an animal, it sheds its petals, initiating a massive energy dump while retaining the rear shank for maximum penetration. These bullets are built with 100% focus on how they perform on game, and their proprietary designs produce great BCs with specialized pressure grooves for amazing inherent accuracy and speed. They have a minimum expansion velocity of 1,800 feet per second, which allows for long-range shots, but with no maximum velocity, making them perfect for every cartridge from your granddaddy's old 30-30 to the high-velocity round like the Weatherby 3378 without having to worry about your bullet failing. To view their expansive selection and find the perfect match for your hunting needs, go to hammerbullets.com and use discount code TheNorthernHunter to drop the hammer on your next adventure.